Actually, asakti we covered when we talked about anahankara, right? Absence of pride comes because asakti means absence of sense of ownership. When you understand that you are not an owner of anything, but you are just a trustee, then the pride what goes away automatically, right? Because actually, it was interesting. Zamita asked me an interesting question, and she says, "Oh my God, if everything is given, then where is the room for creativity?" Right? If everything is given through this intelligent design, where is the room for creativity?
All of us have it, but we have to
right? Even that potential for creativity is within what? Within that design. If things were totally programmed, we would be like robots. Right? That human mind can paint things. They're like, and also what? All different schools. Now, Avni goes and attends many very interesting academic lectures, so she can probably give a talk about all kinds of different arts that are there. Right? Then when you become scholarly, then what you can distinguish between what Impressionist and Renaissance and all these art itself becomes all very specialized. So that means it's that creativity and different styles that are available is all what within a possibility. When we talk about that intelligence, it doesn't mean, please don't misunderstand it as something, everything is predetermined. Within that intelligence also comes what? Possibilities. As I told you that the laws of gravity, apples were falling way before Newton discovered it. But once we discovered that, we could send what? Spaceships in the space with it. That is what? Human creativity. Once you understand, then what happens? You use that knowledge. Even though it's not a complete understanding, it's a partial understanding. You may not understand exactly, but even that partial understanding, what happens? We can actually apply to get amazing things done. All these recent discoveries, digital age, this microchip, understanding what, how, what 010101, nanotechnologies, and with that what we can do. Okay, so that means the presence of intelligence doesn't come as what? A totally preordained design. As I told you, we are at one juncture of, I don't know if you all have seen a nice documentary by Al Gore on the environment.
Inconvenient truth.
Inconvenient Truth. Beautiful documentary. The whole analysis is something which is beautiful because he analyzes all these environmental problems and he traces back to what? Certain causes, right, which has led to this particular environment, right? So therefore, anything that we face today is a result of what? The causes that we have created through our own usage of free will. And it has got us to this point. Then he talks about the future. Is the future decided totally? No. He says we have different options as to how we move forward from now on. And depending upon the choices we make, these are the future scenarios. The whole possibility is given within that intelligence. Your free will comes within that possibility. How you collapse that free will also is within that intelligence. Okay, so therefore, this is something which is very important to understand. Otherwise, we would be mere robots. And somebody out there, and we don't even know who that out there is using us like puppets. That is the most pathetic vision of the world. Because I don't even know who's out there. But that somebody out there uses me as a puppet. And I have zero free will. So that puppet says, okay, now you are placed from here to here, and you are placed there. This is a miserable view of life. Here, that intelligence which is all pervading, it's not away from you, it's not somebody out there. It gives you a human mind, which is a brilliant mind with all its possibilities. And you can collapse those possibilities. Or you can waste away that human mind. That choice belongs to you. Then life becomes what? It's entirely up to you how you choose to live your life. Either you can waste it away, or you can help yourself to knowledge which can make you discover your own limitlessness. That choice belongs to you. Okay? So therefore, the absence of ownership does not pose a problem to what? Creativity. You don't have to own things. You come in this world, right? You don't totally own anything. You have been given connection with one body. For how many years? 80, 100 years. You come to this world, so that means you become a trustee of this body. It's been given to you for 180 years. You come to this world with a mind. The mind is given to you for the same time that the body is given. Because it can't exist independent of the body. You are a trustee of this mind. You don't own it because when the body goes, no matter how brilliant that mind is, it will go. You are born with what? This whole earth at your disposal, and you say what? This little piece I own. Did you come with it? It was already there. You've created a system, a financial system, which gives you what? An illusion of owning it. When you leave from here, that ownership, are you going to take it with you? That piece of land is going to remain right here. Trusteeship. But, yes, through certain financial means, you have been given what? A trusteeship of that land where you can stay. everything. It's not totally an illusion either. Please understand. The wealth that you are given, you are a trustee. The power that you are given, you are a trustee. When you begin to understand that I am a trustee and not the owner, how will you use everything that has been entrusted upon you by the greater order?
Responsibility.
With responsibility. Okay? So therefore, you need not stay away from it. If you did not have any entitlement, what? If the order did not, if the order doesn't desire, I mean, if within the order there is no possibility that you are going to get it, you won't get it. You don't need to stay away from it. If it comes to you, you become the trustee. You don't reject it. But what do? You use it wisely. The money that you have, either you can, somebody told me recently, I had gone to Dubai, and then they said, in Dubai there are people who have so much wealth that somebody can have 300 pairs of shoes. Things like, which are like completely, So therefore, either you can do that is a choice. Or you can say, I have nice 10 pairs, there is no problem. And let me, what? Use the rest for somebody else. You become a trustee, a responsible trustee. If excess is with you, then what? Human mind has to grow to what? Begin to share it. That's how you become bigger. Okay? So therefore, don't deny things. If you have excess, learn to use it wisely.
This also extends to the fact that stop identifying yourself with these things the way you identify the body.
Absolutely.
Don't identify yourself.
Excellent. Right? So this is what in Adhyasa Bhashyam we saw. What? There are two types of Adhyasa. Aham idam and mama idam. One is I am this body, and what? All the surrounding things also are mine. So that means I get what? I define myself by the shoes I wear. I define myself, my whole self-esteem depends upon what? The clothes I wear. My whole sense of I belongs to what? The haircut I have. That is a problem. Right? So therefore, or the people who are close to me, what happens to them? So that means we have multiple adhyasas. To undo this adhyasa really, and not just understand during this lecture of 1 hour, it requires time. This is what we call, you not only have to first understand what Vedanta is saying, then you have to start living it. Right? Asakti. The next one, the next value is Anabhishwangaha Putra Dara Gruhadishu. So here he says, absence of obsession with son, wife, house and the like. Okay? So therefore, this is something, unfortunately, this is something maybe which is also kind of, if you're not careful and if you're not nuanced as a teacher, you can use this verse, this word, this compound to give an advice as to what? Be detached from what? Your son, what is it? Then you from your wife, from your house, and be detached to everything. right? But luckily, our whole tradition is nuanced tradition. The sophistication which is there in Adi Shankaracharya Bhashyam is just mind-boggling. Namita came to me after the class and she says she cannot fathom this tradition. And there are all these thinkers and they are debating and they are looking into the truth and and they are thinking about things like this. What a country and what a tradition. Okay, so therefore, luckily the tradition is not simplistic. So it doesn't tell us not to be attached to our wife and to our... What it says is, in any relationship, what becomes a real problem is what? The more you love somebody, these are all the things that you love. Putra or your kids are probably people that you probably love the most in this world. Spouse, you love the most, hopefully, even now. Right? So therefore, these are the people that you love the most. With people that you love the most, what happens? Control. The more you love somebody, what happens? The more you want to control the person. More you have agenda for that person. More you want that person to be exactly as how you want that person to be. So that means very often for us, if we are not careful, love gets mixed up with control. And after this many years of coming back to India, this is a lighter side, please don't take it seriously. Where it's interesting because some of my students, they get interested in, knowing this more when now I'm in Bombay. Then they say, oh, I have to take permission from home to be able to come here. That to me is, oh my God, we are now how many years old? 40, 50, whatever years old. And still there is somebody out there, controlling our lives, and we need to ask for permission. It's quite, at least the way I have lived my life, it didn't come anywhere in my vocabulary of asking for permission. I've done the most unconventional things in my life. So therefore, there is so much of this control. It's just incredible. The relationships are all based on control. And that control, you can't stand when your spouse is trying to control you, but you in turn try to control your kids. You want them to be exactly as how you are. And if they are not, you put so much pressure for them to be conforming to your picture of them. So therefore, everybody in a relationship feels what?
Lack of freedom.
Lack of freedom. Exactly, strangulated. So therefore, nice thing. When I was invited for one of the weddings in Bombay recently, and they had called Rinpoche, one of the Buddhist Rinpoche, for giving a talk. A little bit of ceremony was done because that's in fashion in Bombay. So therefore, there was this Rinpoche, and after he did this little ceremony, people were asked to ask him questions if they had. And one person asked that what is the idea of Buddhism about marriage? You know, I mean, because it was a wedding ceremony, and his answer was very brilliant answer. I thought it was beautiful answer. His answer was that according to Buddhism, two people get together not to bind each other, but to help each other discover their freedom. Help each other in that journey of discovering freedom. Imagine if you live your life like that, with somebody who helps you in your discovery of freedom. Amazing. And I thought about it, and I said, and I was totally impressed with his answer. I said, wow, what a beautiful answer to give. Then I rewinded back and I thought about this Hindu ritual which we did in Anaikatti, and the idea was exactly the same. Exactly the same. Human birth, I see all these giggles and smiles and
Just talked about exactly this.
oh yeah.
So what was it?
The ritual, the whole Hindu ritual is, that, right? That you come to this world for moksha, right? So there is an actual ritual during what we perform, that Surya was wearing a nice dhoti, and he had all these Vedas in his hand. And where was he going? He was walking towards the north.
Towards here.
North stands for what? Kashi.
Oh,
And
Kashyata.
Kashi, and Kashi stands for moksha. So that means as a young, we were still not that young, but he was relatively young. And this is part of the ritual. You're acting it out.
Yeah.
Quite interesting. You're acting it out, and he was with his Veda in his hand, he was walking towards the north, and my father had to go and...
Convince him by pulling back.
1 second, yes, exactly. This is part of the ritual. My father had to go and bring him back. And he says, I'm not interested in getting married and all. Part of the ritual, right? I'm not interested in getting married, I want moksha. This is what human birth is for, moksha, freedom. I'm in search of freedom. My father, every father is supposed to, it's not my father, every father is supposed to give an answer. And what is that answer? The answer is, my daughter will help you in that pursuit of freedom, will not come on your way, and you also help her in her pursuit of freedom, and you also don't come on her way. And then the boy is supposed to be convinced.
Thanks for this. This is the first time I've understood this. So I've done it.
You've done it, right? You've done this ritual.
I thought Kashi Arjuna just give up in life and go. No, I'll give my daughter to be happy. That's what I understood.
So now you know.
Now I know.
Vedic vision of relationships. Each one is on one's path of freedom. And every person that you associate with closely is supposed to help you towards that freedom and not to pull you back and control you. Imagine if everybody at the time of the wedding have this understanding, and not the understanding is done the ritual. That relationships are not meant for control. Relationships are meant for each one to find space within which they grow. Each individual grows. And you start your life journey like that. What a beautiful life, what a beautiful vision. Okay, so therefore, this is really what it is saying, that relationships and control are the natural tendency. A mature person sees relationships as what? Means through which what they can grow and discover the freedom. There is another thing which I want to mention here, which is extremely important, and there is something called, this so-called, if you don't understand this, one example which I gave earlier is, people coming to us and saying that I want to be detached to my kids because I love them a lot. And I told them that there is nowhere, you don't need to detach, because they need love of, if by detachment you mean not showing love, that is not what is said. Because every child needs love. With whatever love you are giving at present, the child feels unloved. If you stop showing love in the name of being detached, you will deprive the child of that love. Please don't do that. You will make the entire society mad society. So therefore, that is the second thing that you have to understand. Show your love, but free it from control. Okay? Now the third thing which I want to show is that, people that we are, this is another huge thing. The people that we are closely connected to, people that we love very much, and imagine that we lose them. Then what happens? There is tremendous pain attached to that. I had a woman who came to my Vedanta class, and she had recently lost somebody very close. So whole Vedanta class, she was applying only with reference to that little loss. Everything else that I was saying was what? Not even registered in the mind. So that means that loss, the magnitude of that loss is so huge, mind becomes what? Totally occupied with that loss. It's no longer available for anything else. Because the magnitude of the impact of that loss is huge. Now, when that is happening, imagine if I tell you, oh, you should not be sad. Take out all these thoughts. You think it's a very wise thing to do? Not at all. That shows total lack of understanding of how human mind works. Okay, so therefore, there is this. In fact, I will. There are some emotions which are attached to a loss. What is that emotion? Grief. certain amount of sadness is something which is what part of human program. You can't totally eliminate that. Anybody who attempts to eliminate doesn't understand what the bigger order within which we all work. Right? But actually I will talk about my own. I was debating whether I should, that's why I paused, but I think I will. Okay? This is the year when I lost my teacher and my mother, both. Within a period of 1 month. And the teacher that I knew for last 30 years and who, as you saw, how he had just not only given me this incredible knowledge but participated in every decision of my life. And within 3 weeks, I lost my mom, just all of a sudden. And obviously there were times that what? You cannot avoid that grief. Very significant. And even as I told you, my mother was not somebody who would control me. As I told you through this example, when I told her that Swamiji has found this guy, she says, hey, even though I was 37 years old, unless you are convinced, you don't have to, what? Listen to anyone else. That was her level of independence. A young girl leaving her job and going and studying in Gurukulam for 3.5 years. She let me do that. All unconventional, totally unconventional life, but I got nothing but love and support. So when you lose people like that, who have contributed so much to you being who you are, you can't avoid grief. But the Vedic vision is so intelligent, it says you have a choice. Either you are what? Totally consumed by that grief, or you try to erase, oh my God, I should not think about it. Both are what? Dysfunctional. It has a beautiful way to deal with that grief without denying it. What do? You don't resist the memories. You can't erase memories of your teacher, of your parent. You can't. What do? In form of a ritual, when you go to Ganga in the morning, you pray for their well-being, wherever they are in this world. You are not indifferent to them. How can you be indifferent to them? Ask for what? Taking them to the right place where they will what? Continue this journey of life and one day find moksha. You can pray for them. Thank them for the contribution they have made to your life. Given you all these opportunities. They didn't have to do anything that they did. My teacher did not have to, when I was just a young child and he was a big teacher, didn't have to call me and talk to me and try to find out who I was and help me, and he didn't have to. But they all did. And I was blessed. And I can never forget that. so I can thank them for that contribution to my life. Day after day after day. Why not? And the third thing is, I ask them for blessings to what? Do what I have to do in my life. So instead of forgetting them or being what? Deep into depression with what? Playing the same tape, oh my mom did this to me and my mom did that to me and my teacher did this to me. You convert it all into what? Gratitude. You ask that order, Ishvara. Now I have to use the word Isha, Ishvara, because now you know what is meant by Ishvara. Right? You ask for what? Them to be taken care of. You thank them for what they have done to you. And also ask for their blessings to what? Move on in life. This is how you convert every experience into what? Knowledge and healthy and very beautiful thing, rather than what? Operating from?
Growing experience.
Huh?
Growing experience.
Exactly. Vedic vision is a very cultivated vision. Very sophisticated. The more I look into the whole thing of what is this amazing body of knowledge, the more I say, oh my God, that in this lifetime you can come across this body of knowledge and the right teacher who can what? Not impart it in some kind of a simplistic way. An expansion. I think this is the word Namita used. I see this whole knowledge as nothing but expansion. Expansion of way we think, way we are, way we behave, way we act. Okay, so therefore this is what? This proper relationship with people that you love, and even being able to handle the loss of loved one in a mature manner. Right? So this is asakti anabhishvangaha putradara grihadishu. Okay. Now the next value is Nityancha samachittatvam ishta anishta upapattishu. Literally, it means certain amount of equilibrium you are able to maintain when you get what you like, ishta and anishta. Anishta is something that you don't like. So that means, it means what? Certain equilibrium in light of whatever situation comes. Whether you like that situation or you don't like the situation. Generally what happens when you like the situation, what is that? Extreme happiness, elation. And when you don't like the situation, down. So your whole life is what our teacher used to say, a roller coaster. Ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs. Right? Now, what is it that it says equilibrium? But that equilibrium is very easily, a teacher can say, and you must have equilibrium. And everybody wants equilibrium also, but how? So that how is not, and there is the whole knowledge. It's not an advice. The knowledge is in the verse of Gita, which is one of the most brilliant verses of the Gita. Karmani eva adhikaraha te ma phaleshu kadachana. How do you even begin to have equilibrium? By understanding a fact. A very important fact which enables you to recognize what you have a choice over and what you don't have a choice over. Karmani eva adhikara. With reference to actions, you have a choice. You can choose. But having chosen, do you have choice over the result of the action? No. If you had choice over result of the action, there would never be something called a failure. Why? Because everything will happen according to your wishes. So therefore, one thing is very important. Our whole commitment is what? To the result. And we have sense of control over result. We feel that we want to control the result. But actually, what is the reality? You don't have choice over the result. You have choice, but that does it mean that you have no choice at all? You do have a choice over your actions. Right? Now, if I understand that I don't have choice over result of the action, then you have to ask, then what determines that result? If I don't decide, what decides?
The higher order.
Exactly. Excellent. So therefore, wonderful. Because if I don't decide, there are two possibilities, logically. One possibility is that results are just random. The second possibility is what? Higher order, which Kant says is Ishvara. Ishvara in form of what? Law of all the different laws. Wonderful. When I understand that Ishvara, which is a much bigger design, it is what? Sarvajnaha Sarvashaktiman, which puts together what? So many different variables to give me the result that comes in front of me. If I really understand that, then when things don't happen my way, will I call myself a failure? Will I blame the world? No. You will actually, hopefully, not even blame yourself. You will find, once you have understood what, you will find other ways of getting what you want, instead of taking on the burden and calling yourself a failure.
It's learning.
Exactly. So then you can say, I'm learning. You don't call yourself a failure. Absolutely. Absolutely. So therefore, any successful person You can ask any discovery that anybody makes or any success that one gets. Before that person gets that success, how many different things has not really happened and the person has learnt. What makes you a successful person is not that you've got everything that you want, but what you have learnt from what you didn't get. Because when you don't get something, either you can enter into this whole helpless self-pity situation, or you can learn from it and you can get out of it. If you don't understand the fact that the much larger order takes care of the result of the action, what will you do? You'll always blame somebody or the other. This person did this to me and that person did this to me and this person was like this, and there's no end. And as a result of all of that, you feel like a victim. I was victim of all these people's doing. And with that vision of the world, you carry forward and you live. Where your implicit assumption is what? I'm good, people are bad, and I'm a victim. You never get out of it. So, you need to, and it said, I want to get rid of this feeling. How will you get rid of this feeling unless you replace it with what? The right understanding of what gives you the result. If you don't do this analysis, you'll never get out of it. No amount of positive thinking is going to get you out of it because you haven't understood how things work.
Will the result also be affected by your karma?
Yes. So therefore, the result, that is true. So this is why the order or Ishvara, how does it give you the result is, as Philip says, what? It's not that Ishvara, the intelligence, is just randomly giving you result. It is based on your own actions.
Is there any other factor?
Sorry?
Is there any other factor?
Yeah.
Because the need of the whole or something like this?
No, there is no, the whole doesn't have any need.
The total field.
The total doesn't have any need.
Of the field.
Yeah. So therefore, what you are saying is right, that there are other factors also influencing. So the other factors, there is this very beautiful thing, which is Surya has a very beautiful visual thing of Indra's net.
Oh?
It's something called Indra's net.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it shows connections within connections within connections within connections. And that's why it is extremely complex. One example, right? All of us who are living on this earth today face some common issues. Let's say global warming. Is the global warming whose effect we all feel today, am I only the one who is responsible? Am I the only one who has caused that global warming? No. What has happened? Collective karma. Many, many different individuals have worked. Who are those people? Starting from the Industrial Revolution, what all the manufacturers, the technologies they used. Then as we began to have better technologies, there were people who had a choice. Before they didn't have a choice, now they had a choice. Some people went by what? their understanding of the need of the environment and used more environmentally friendly technologies. The others were only looking at their short-term profits. So they chose not to use those technologies. All these different decisions which are made by countless people culminate into what? Cumulative, the result that we all face who are living on this earth at this point in time. Who puts together all these cause and effects, starting from the industrial age and all the different people who have worked, and you and me and everything together? Who?
All
The intelligence. Right? So therefore, there is something which is what? Our individual karma, but it gets connected with what? The collective karma. And that collective karma also is so interesting because even though we all face the problem of global warming, each individual faces it differently. When I was posted in Fiji Islands, the biggest thing, a point at the UN forum is what? The environment. Why? Because of the global warming, what happens? The sea level is rising. And that means if it rises up beyond a certain point, they will all submerge in water. So their very existence depends upon, that. So they are affected by this whole global warming problem so much more than somebody else sitting in Germany, for example. So we all have certain collective karma which makes us experience certain things in common, but within that common, the impact on each one is different. So that means there is so many connections. Imagine in terms of computer program that you need to all have one experience common, but within that infinite variations. Imagine the calculations. This is where we see enormity of that all intelligence. Right? So now we'll look a little bit more into that, and then once we understand that, how is our response? That we will see in tomorrow's class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.